Hello, welcome, good morning. And this is Strictly Business with Okoyemi Mano. I'm talking about bootstrapping your business. I'll be touching a bit on how to budget, and I'll be touching a bit about equity. All right, so let's get right straight into it. So I'm on my way to the office right now, and I just thought to do this while driving to work. So let's quickly get started. And I said I want to be sharing. So last time how to, I talked about how to, the biggest mistakes that people make when they are running their business, right? And that biggest mistake that I touched on is not putting yourself on salary. So when you are starting a new business, right, most times you don't usually have funding and you want to bootstrap, right? So bootstrapping your business means you want to, make do with the money that you have at hand currently. You want to borrow some few money, few dollars from your family and friends, or you want to make do with the money you saved up before you resign from your previous job, or whichever way you don't have capital, you don't have enough money to do all the things you want to do. So I just want to talk on how do you bootstrap? How do you manage the funds that you have while starting? And I remember when I was starting out in I started my first business in 2012, and then the business kind of failed in 2014, and then I had to work for 8 months, and I had to save up about 500,000 naira, from my salary. So after 8 months in 2015, I resigned from my job, and I had to start all over again from ground zero. So I had just 500,000 to work with, after I'd saved that up. So how did I manage to use 500,000 to get to where I am today? And since then, I've never worked, as an employee of an organization again, even though I'm an employee of all my clients. So what I'm saying is that bootstrapping is a very crucial skill that you must have as an entrepreneur. So you need to know how to bootstrap. You need to know how to manage your money so that it can be sufficient enough for you. At least when you are starting out, you don't burn that money out. You don't have a burnout. They call it something, burn rate. That is the amount of money you need to spend before you actually reach a product market fit, or you reach at least break even in your business. So you don't want to exhaust your money before you reach a break even, or before you even find your first 100 customers. So how do you do this? What I had to do is, number one, to put myself on salary. So out of that 500,000 I had way back when I was starting my first company, what I had to do first was to put myself on a salary of 20,000 naira. And you can imagine 20,000 naira. Anyway, that was way back in 2015. But even 20,000 naira in 2015 was still a very, very small amount. I'm sure that most graduates can't live on 20,000 naira. But the thing is that I've trained myself to live on something called budgeting. I know how to budget very, very, very well. So I could literally know exactly how much I spend on everything every month. And I've been doing this, I've cultivated this habit right from university days. So I know how much I spend on my credit cards, on my call cards rather, how much I spend on my calls, how much I spend with data, how much I spend in transportation, how much I spend doing all the tiny little things I do every month. And this is a very good habit. So when I was in university then, I had an app called an expense tracker. So I was using that app to track every money I spend. So at the end of the month, it gives me a pie chart. That pie chart helps me to see the distribution of my expense for the month. And because of that, I'm able to know exactly how much I need to have in my bank, or how much I need to have available at hand for me to be able to live and survive the next month. So this has been a very, very good habit, and it has helped me a lot. So even now, when I'm now starting my business, it's become a part of me. So I know how to live on a very small amount of money, because really what we spend money on every day, if only you can track where your money is going, you will know exactly how much you need to survive every month. Whatever you don't measure, you cannot manage. Let me say that again. Whatever you are not measuring, you are not tracking, you cannot manage. Right? So you need to track your expense, you need to know where your money is going every month. And this will be a very, very vital, important skill you need to have, when you eventually start your own business, especially when you are bootstrapping. So my first business, like I said, I had 500,000 to work with. I had to get an office space. So when I resigned, I had to get an office space with a friend. So we put money together, 100,000. That was 200,000. We got an office space in Ogba, Lagos. And then I had about 400,000 left. And then I put myself on salary of 20,000 naira every month. And I put myself on a budget, because at that time, I was still staying with my sister. So I was, so it was, I don't want to go into the story, but when I was running my first business, we were doing very well. We had an apartment and all of that. But when the business failed, I went to ground zero and I had to leave. I could not pay my rent. So I had to go stay with my sister. That's how to cut down costs. There is no shame. There's no shame in doing these things. So I had to cut down. I had to cut down costs. I had to stay with my sister, leave my apartment. I had to, ensure that, of course, food is out of the way because, of course, I'm eating my sister's food. So I reduced the cost of feeding. I reduced the cost of accommodation. So the only money I had to spend was just to take care of myself, which is just probably to go to work and come back to the house. So I reduced my cost within what I could afford every month. That's how to bootstrap, guys. That's how to bootstrap. You need to look at where your money is going to go to and find ways around reducing and eliminating, if possible, those costs. Right? And if you're not tracking your expense every month, if you don't have the habit of knowing where your money is going to, you might not be able to do this or survive on a very small amount of money or survive on a very small salary. So that's what you need to do. So I'm telling you that this skill is very important, especially if you're starting out as a young business. You need to live on a budget. And how do you do this? Like I said, you can have a simple accounting software. There is something called Wave app. That is the simple accounting software you can use to track your expense and your income every month. And then you can put yourself on a salary there. You can use Tryback accounting software. We've built in such a way that it can help you to also manage your expense and your income. These are the things you can use. So you make sure that you are tracking your expense and put yourself on a budget. So when you start out like that, in 2015, when I started out with that 500K and we got an office, I put myself on salary of 20K. What I had to do next was that I started the business and I also budget for every expense that we're spending in the business every month. So the internet cost, the utility bill we are paying in the office space that we're using. I didn't have any staff at the beginning, so I was just the only one. I was just creating websites and building apps. So the only expense I had then was my laptop, and my laptop, of course, it doesn't have to go bad every month. So I didn't have to spend anything except my transportation and my data costs, and probably the office utility bills, cleaning bills, security bills, and all of that. So what I'm saying is that you need to have an accounting software. You need to have something you are using to track your expense. You need to break it down. Once you have tracked your expense for like 1 or 2 months, you'll be able to come up with a budget. So if you don't track expense, it's difficult to work with budget. So you need to first track your expense and get used to your expenses so that you can know exactly how much you need on the average to survive every month. And once you've gotten that number, then you can then design a budget for yourself. And once you've designed your budget, you can then know that if I have 400K left to survive for the next 6 months before I get to break even or before I get my first 100 customers, then you know that my budget, you can then start adjusting that budget that, oh, this allocation for this particular item is too much because if I'm going to burn out, I will burn out in a shorter time. So you want to ensure that you don't your burn rate, like I said, your burn rate is how much money you need to spend before you break even or before you reach profitability or before you raise your next fund, right? So you want to reduce your burn rate such that your money that you have with you can sustain you long enough to profitability or sustain you long enough to get enough customers to get you to break even. Right, so that's the bootstrapping. Then the next thing I want to talk about before I wrap up today is that I want you to understand what we call equity, and when you're bringing in partners, what should you do? So you want to start this business, you don't want to do it alone, you have a friend that you guys want to start together. Two big mistakes you don't want to make when you're doing this, that you don't want to have equal shares. In my first company with my friends, we had equal shares, so we had 33%. We're 3 of us, and then we all had 33%. You don't want to do that because there are so many reasons. I can do another video on why you should not have equal shares with your co-founders when you're starting a business. There needs to be some sort of the decision maker and someone with a higher share. So you want to do 60-40, you want to do 55-45, you want to do 70-30. For whatever reason, you want to find a way around that. That's one. You don't want to have equal shares for many reasons that I will share in another video because this video is way longer than 5 minutes. Then the second one is that you want to vest your equity, something called vested equity, right? You want to vest your equity. You don't want to allow all the shares. So even if you're giving your co-founder or your partner 55% equity or 30% equity, they don't get that equity at the beginning. So you must sign an agreement that allows you to vest the equity. Vesting equity means that The equity of 30%, they don't get the full thing upfront at the beginning. So what they get at the beginning might be like a 5%, and then that gives room for them to put in the work and sweat and blood for this business to survive. Because what happens is that usually when you do that and they get all the equity upfront, if they change their mind after 1 year and they go look for a job because the business is not working and they are not making enough money and they're tired of this struggling and suffering, then they walk away with your 33% or they walk away with your 30%. And there's nothing you can do because you sign an agreement and you put their name in CAC documents as a director and they own these shares. So you want to vest equity, you want to ensure that they don't get all the equity upfront. So you want to say in your agreement that this equity is over 5 years, and at the beginning they get like 5%. After the first year, they get another 5%. Second year, 5%. Third year. So you can estimate how long you need. You can kind of visualize that maybe in 3 years, this business should be fine. And even if they walk away after 3 years, I should be able to run this business all by myself. So you want to give yourself enough time, enough runway to be able to run the business together, suffer together, such that the business is okay, and if they walk away the business will not die or suffer. So that's what you want to do. So vested equity protects your interest, protect the interest of the business, and protect the business survivor itself. So those are the two things I want to talk about today, and I want to wrap up now. So make sure when you are bootstrapping your business, you want to be on a budget. Work with a budget. Never spend your money without a budget at the beginning of your business. Everything must be tracked. Every expense must be measured. If you are not measuring your if you are not measuring your money or how you spend your money or where your money is coming from and how it's going out, you are not in business. I can bet you that you are not in business. So have a good accounting software, have a good expense tracker. Make sure it's a mobile app that you can work with that is very close to you. So at the end of every day, what I used to do then, at the end of every day by 10 p.m., I have an alarm that rings that reminds me that I need to record all my expense for the day. And if by adventure I had income for that day, I need to record my income. And at the end of the month, my software will give me a pie chart telling me I've spent 20% of my revenue for that month on airtime. I've spent 15% on utility bill. I've spent 5% on transportation. I've spent this on that, and I've spent this on that. That is how to track your expense. And once you have gotten a good hand of your expense, you can then start living on a budget. You can start running your business on a budget. So also that software, Tryback accounting software, allows you to set up a budget. So download the Tryback, go to www.tryback.com, go to our accounting software. You can use that. You can use Wave app. You can use Accountier. You can use, which other software do I know there? You can use QuickBooks. There are different accounting software you can use to track your expense out there. But most importantly, make sure you are tracking, make sure you are measuring, make sure you are on top of your numbers. This is where I will stop today. I'm still Apoyemi Emmanuel, and this is Strictly Business. Enjoy the rest of your day.